Welcome in. Welcome in. We are back. Christmas is coming. I can't believe it. Another season of NFL DFS first look videos. I'm your host, Ben Hostler. If you are new here, I don't even know what year this is of doing these NFL DFS first look videos. I have no idea. I think we might be into year 11, year 12 at this point. We have a lot of OGs that are going to be watching this video and hopefully some new faces too. So if you guys are here, whether you're new, old, halfway point, wherever you joined us for this journey, subscribe to the channel, Rolling Insights on YouTube, and hit that like button. Drop a comment. Let me know how long you've been watching me do these NFL DFS first look videos. I'm very curious. I can't wait for football, and I can't believe it's almost that time once again for another football season. Today's video is sponsored by Rolling Insights. All of your data needs will be covered by Rolling Insights. We have tons of data-related content on this YouTube channel. So if you guys are building a product or you know someone building a product and you need an affordable data solution, make sure you tap in to rollinginsights.com. And we have a consumer product as well with SportWise, where you can sync up your fantasy leagues, create custom formulas. It's really just a beefed up version of a spreadsheet. I use it for my fantasy rankings. Can be found for free if you're doing drafts for the rest of the summer. Rollinginsights.com. Go into that community. It's 100% free. And you can find my fantasy rankings for the top 100 in there. And like I said, you can sync up your fantasy league and do all sorts of fun stuff over there in SportWise. That being said, we have week 1 NFL DFS salaries. They've been out for over a week now at this point. I think 2 weeks. It's been a very busy summer for myself, trying to take care of some, data feeds related stuff before we really dive into the full season. We had Fantasy Football Expo going on, which was a blast. Really fun there to represent Rolling Insights there. Always fun when I get to go to a conference. But so these salaries have been out for a couple weeks now. I have not looked, though. I have not cheated. No peeking. This is a true first reaction to the week 1 salaries on DraftKings. And about a little under a month from now, I'll be doing the actual week 1 NFL DFS lineup building video. So we're about a month out. I wanted to go through and give you my raw first reaction to the pricing. So, year 12, whatever it is, let's dive in here. So first and foremost, a lot's going to change by the time we get to week 1. We're close to week 1, but a lot's going to change. There's going to be some injury situations that, alter our thinking. It's inevitable when you release salaries this far in advance, but we're going to do the best with what we have right now. Just give a general overview of the slate of the players, and we'll even build a first look lineup like we typically do. To kind of start off here, let's take a look at some of the good games and then the higher totals that we have. Week 1's going to be a little bit interesting because we have obviously an extra primetime game this year. We have a Wednesday game, a Thursday game, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. So, but we still have a pretty big main slate as well. So looking at some of the totals here for that week 1 main slate, Chicago and Carolina, 47.5, not too shabby. New Orleans and Detroit, this was hovering at like 48.5. It's up to 49.5. I'm pretty surprised, to be honest with you, that total is under 50. But that Detroit-New Orleans game looks really good. We have a 51.5 there with Tampa Bay and Cincinnati, a 48.5 with Baltimore and Indy, couple 46.5s there to round us out. So overall, there are some expected high-scoring games on the board here. We're going to go position by position like usual. We're going to start off at quarterback. Coming in at the top here, Josh Allen, the most expensive quarterback on the slate at $7,000 DraftKings salary. He faces off with Houston in Houston. Really tough matchup. So I don't think a lot of ownership or attention is going to be put on to Josh Allen in this matchup particularly. I think if you're looking at the top of quarterback, I think Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts all have better matchups better game environments, and they're similarly priced. So I kind of think that's where the ownership's going to settle, at least when we are looking at quarterback. If I had to pick my favorite one as of now, it might be Lamar Jackson, to be quite honest with you. Joe Burrow is in that game, Cincinnati-Tampa, over 50 total is going to be really good. So it's really hard to argue Joe Burrow with a high team total at home in Cincinnati. Want to see what happens with Tampa Bay's defense, to be honest. Like, is Vita Vea going to play? There's some question marks there, but it's certainly a good spot. But obviously, Lamar has the rushing capabilities that Joe Burrow doesn't. And when we look at the top of quarterback here, whether it be whether it be Lamar, Hurts, Jaden Daniels, all three of those guys have new offensive coordinators coming into this season. And that's going to be a really key factor early on in the season, right? Like, who is seeing, like, are changes going the way we think they are? How good are these offenses truly from a fantasy perspective, and like the environments that they get in? I'm willing, like, to really buy in on this Baltimore offense bouncing back. Now, they really didn't upgrade stuff in the offseason, kind of where you would want them to, right? From a playmaking perspective, they drafted a couple of receivers, but they're really running this back. They lost Isaiah Likely, so they're running it back with Lamar, Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and some rookie receivers. That's kind of what we're working with. Now, I am willing to buy into this Declan Doyle offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, coming over, learned under the tutelage of Ben Johnson. I made a tweet today, if you guys follow me on X at Ben Hostler. I think the Indianapolis Colts might just stink. I'm at that point of the offseason here where I just have no faith in the Indianapolis Colts. It's a dome game, and I think I trust, like, we can sit here and theorize that Jalen Hurts is going to run more this season, theorize that Jaden Daniels is going to run a good bit. I feel more confident in Lamar doing it than the others, to be honest, here at the top. So I think Lamar Jackson really looks good to me at 6,800 there for my favorite overall quarterback at the top. But you can make a strong case for Joe Burrow and the other kind of rushing quarterbacks up here as well. You could throw Caleb Williams in there as well at 63 in terms of somebody that I think you can make a strong case for. If we're moving down the range here, this would be more so. So I like Lamar is going to, we're always going to have value on a week one slate because they release the salaries so early. We're just inevitably going to get value. So I don't think it'll be hard to get up to Lamar for a cash game perspective rather. For tournaments, when we're moving down here, I mean, you could make a strong case for Baker Mayfield, Zach Robinson coming over to call the offense there for Tampa Bay. Cincy's defense really struggled last year. They played better at the end of the year, but this is an over 50 total. I'm pretty bullish on Baker having a big year and a contract year. So, you can make the case for him at under 6K. You can make the case for Jared Goff. I'm really bullish, obviously, on this Detroit offense. It's a dome game. New Orleans, should be a shootout. I just told you guys, I think that game should be over 50 total. So I definitely think you can make the case for Jared Goff, as you always can with the Detroit Lions. Moving down farther, not the best matchup for some of these guys. Like Trevor Lawrence against Cleveland, still not an easy matchup, even though Cleveland's defense isn't what it was a few years ago when they had Myles Garrett. Jordan Love plays Minnesota, which is obviously a tough task. You could look at Tyler Shugg on the opposite side of Jared Goff in that game. What's Kyler Murray going to get you? I don't really have a ton of faith in him at the moment. CJ Stroud looking to have a bounce back season. I think when I'm looking at this mid-tier quarterback range for tournaments, I think a lot of people are going to want to look at Cam Ward here. It seems pretty popular of a take that Cam Ward's going to have a big ascension this year in the Titans with Brian Daboll coming in and Robert Saleh as the head coach. They drafted Carnell Tate in the top 5 in the NFL draft. It seems like a common take that the Titans are going to take a step forward on offense this year. So I could see Cam Ward at home against the Jets. I can already see the Jets kind of operating as a pass funnel style defense. So I think if you're looking for a cheap tournament option, I think people will gravitate towards Cam Ward, but I want to bring up someone else here. My favorite tournament option as of right now, it's only August 18th, so we're pretty far out here, but what about Kirk Cousins or Mendoza if he starts, but I'm assuming Kirk Cousins is going to start week 1 at least for the Raiders. What about Kirk Cousins? He's $5,000. He's at home against Miami. I don't think Miami is going to be very good. Now, this total on this game is low, 40.5. But when you look at who I just said I thought was going to be the popular tournament option in this range, in Cam Ward, that game is totaled at 39.5. So we're actually getting another point there on the total. I'm really high on the Raiders offense. Clint Kubiak coming over, we saw what he was able to do for Seattle last season. Kirk Cousins is entirely capable of running this offense. And another reason why I think this is so interesting, I don't want to get too far ahead, but when we get to running back, I do think Ashton Jeanty is going to be a big focal point on this week 1 slate, given his price and matchup against Miami as, a home favorite. The Raiders are minus 3.5 in this game. So what about taking Kirk Cousins at $5K, plugging him in? You have clear stacking options with a Brock Bowers, with even a cheap Jalen Naylor. Like, you can build a pretty cheap double stack here with Kirk Cousins because he's only $5K. You're going to get value on any of those receivers, and then you just plug in Brock Bowers. I like Kirk Cousins for tournaments right now. I think that's my favorite tournament option on the slate here in early August. But for the sake of the video, building our first look lineup, I am going to go ahead and plug in Mr. Lamar Jackson against the Indianapolis Colts. Let's move on to running back here. At the top, we've got some guys that just got paid, right? Jahmyr Gibbs with a fresh contract extension from Detroit. Bijan Robinson, same thing there from Atlanta. Jonathan Taylor's looking for one. Not sure if he'll get it before the season. But, really, really tough to argue with either Gibbs or Bijan. Obviously, Gibbs has the better matchup there, just given the game atmosphere that we're expecting. So I think he would be my top choice if we're picking someone at the very tip top of the pricing tree here. Taylor, Cook, Bijan, even Chase Brown, Devon Achane, Barkley. Those guys are looking like tournament options to me, with Gibbs really taking precedent at the top of the pricing ladder there. As we move down, like I said, I think you're going to get a lot of ownership attention here on Ashton Jeanty at 6,600, home favorite over Miami. People are expecting him to take a big step forward this season. I think Omarion and Hampton, 6,800. Now, the Chargers center, Biotish, he actually got carted off at practice today. We'll kind of see what happens there. But overall, we're expecting a big leap from the Chargers offense this year with Mike McDaniel coming in. Arizona is the worst team in football, I think, or one of. I think they're clearly, we're probably going to see Carson Beck pretty early for the Arizona Cardinals, just given how brutal their schedule is the first 2 months of the season. Really, really tough setup for Arizona this year, in my opinion. So Hampton against Arizona at home, they're 10.5-point favorites. You just have to assume, a lot of ownership's going to settle there too. So I think Hampton and Jeanty are probably your cash game options there in the mid-tier. I'm interested in Breece Hall at 62. I'm interested in DeAndre Swift, especially with this Kyle Monangai injury situation floating out there. Is he going to be healthy for week 1? I don't think we know right now. But I'm definitely interested in him for tournaments. David Montgomery, I'm interested in for tournaments. I think he could have a really big season for Houston. I think Houston's a team I'm really high on this season from like a futures perspective. And just, I think they can have a lot of success both in their division and in this conference. And that was a thing that really plagued them last year, like how bad and inefficient they were in the run game, especially inside the 20. I think David Montgomery is going to be a big, big factor for them offensively. So, you could talk me into him for tournaments here in his first game there at home. What are we getting from the Jaguars running backs, whether it's Bashal Tutin or Chris Rodriguez? What are we getting from Tampa Bay's running backs, right? You have Bucky Irving there at 5,700. You have Kenneth Gainwell down there at 5,200. I really like Kenneth Gainwell from like a season-long fantasy football perspective. I think he can be really involved as a pass catcher, which we obviously like on a full PPR website like DraftKings. Cincinnati allowed a lot of receptions to running backs last year. I think Kenneth Gainwell looks really, really interesting to me at 5,200. Hopefully, people are more interested in playing Bucky Irving and we can kind of make a pivot there. But yeah, I don't see anybody. We haven't got like a big injury at running back yet to where it would affect things for DFS. I think like if Jeremiah Love were to miss, right, we'd be looking at Algier probably, but they're still 10.5-point underdogs. It's not a slam dunk matchup for him. If Breece Hall were to miss, Braylon Allen would come into play. There's stuff that's up in the air. We're too far out from really knowing. But for right now, I'm going to plug in Jeanty. Or should we put Hampton in? We'll put Hampton in for right now and Jeanty. We'll just build with the two mid-tier running backs, and then we'll kind of see if we could fit Gibbs in here also later on. I haven't even like I said, haven't looked at this pricing, have not tried to build a lineup, so I don't know how easy it is to fit anyone. Moving on to receiver. At the top here, Ja'Marr Chase, no-brainer against Tampa Bay. Really, really strong. Amon-Ra St. Brown, no-brainer against the Saints. Really, really strong. I would put those two at the top for cash game purposes, I think, if you're looking to spend up. And then Chris Olave. With this Jordan Tyson news, I mean, he's an absolute smash for me in your drafts. He's 100% going in the first look lineup. We will find a way to get Chris Olave in there. Really, really strong play, in my opinion. There's a lot of strong options in the mid-tier that I'm seeing here. Smitty with no A.J. Brown, against Washington at 66. Drake London's always good. Zay Flowers at 64 would be a nice stack with Lamar. I'm really bullish on Zay Flowers. I think if I were to rank out my just favorite players that I want on my team in season-long drafts this year, Zay Flowers is in the top 3 or 4 for sure. Really, really feel like he could have a monster season in this new look, rejuvenated Baltimore Ravens offense. So I kind of want to plug him in for the stack. Looking further down here, though, like Garrett Wilson looks really cheap to me at 58. I like that price point. Ladd McConkey, I think, is going to be popular, obviously, just given the Chargers team total situation, the fact that he's under 6K. People are really bullish on him in this Chargers offense. McLaurin, tough matchup, but 5,700 looks interesting. Parker Washington's kind of like the darling. Luther Burden at 55 looks really, really good. Luther Burden probably my number one conviction spot for season-long drafts. I think Luther Burden's going to absolutely smash this season. So I like him. Chris Godwin at 52 looks really good. I think he's going to be a PPR machine for that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense this season. Funny to see Marv way down here at 5K. Wan'Dale Robinson, honestly, is probably going to project pretty well at 4,800. Trying to see if anyone else like really jumps out. That's probably the bottom for me. Yeah. So let's come back to receiver and let's plug in a tight end and just kind of go from there. So obviously at the top of tight ends, Brock Bowers is going to be like your top overall play, in my opinion, especially for tournaments. Probably will be tough to fit him unless we get, an injured running back and we can plug in some value there and get up to that. But he's definitely probably the top overall play and projection. I'm looking for some cheapness here per usual. We have Harold Fannin at 42. I don't mind. Dallas Goedert at 41. I don't mind. I think McBride and Loveland are great tournament options. Loveland, similar to Burden. I think the offense is going to really flow through Burden and Loveland. So him at 5,300 looks pretty good. Kyle Pitts, I'm really bullish on a big season for him. You guys know I was really, really high on Harold Fannin last year and David Njoku in the past. Like Kevin Stefanski just really feeds his tight ends. They just paid Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts obviously made us a ton of money late last season when he scored 3 touchdowns in that game, and we had bet him. So, I always have a soft spot for Mr. Kyle Pitts. But I think for like cash, I like Laporta even looks pretty good, to be honest, just in that game atmosphere. But I think Fannin, Goddard, and we could use Andrews as a little stack here. Brenton Strange, Dulcich. I'm trying to see where's Mr. Chigakonkwo. Juwan Johnson, honestly, with Jordan Tyson getting hurt is interesting. I don't really want to double up Saints, I don't think. But yeah, let's plug in Mark Andrews for now. And then defense, obviously, I don't really care about this at this stage. It's pretty early. So we'll just plug in, a cheap home defense. Panthers. Honestly, we'll just put the Minnesota. Let's just put the Panthers in for now. Who cares? All right, so we have 5,500 roughly per position left for 2 receivers and a flex. Not a ton of salary, to be quite honest with you. So looking back at these cheap receivers, I think Wan'Dale, like I said, probably going to project pretty well at 4,800, and that's partially why I think Cam Ward's going to get that attention as like a cheaper quarterback, because it's just too easy to stack him with Wan'Dale for, basically sub 10K in salary, or right around 10K. So that gives us 59. Do we want to put in Zay Flowers? Is there any sort of like a cheaper tight end we could plug in for right now? I don't know why this is loading so slow, by the way. Is there any sort of a cheaper tight end we could put in? Man, not really, to be honest with you. What if we take out Andrews? This will save us just a little bit, just going to Dulcich. That gives us 61. Then if we come back here, we could put Zay Flowers in with Lamar. And then that gives us 5,900 for a flex. We could put Ladd McConkey in there. What if we'll just upgrade. Let's go back to my Kenneth Gainwell play. I really feel strong about that. Will I want to play that in cash by the time we get to week 1? Probably not. But let's go ahead and plug my guy Kenneth Gainwell in there. Full PPR over on DraftKings. Get some exposure to that Tampa Bay Cincy game as well. And then we can either upgrade tight end or upgrade Wan'Dale Robinson. Tight end, that would get us up to Fannin, which I like. Honestly, I like that a lot right there. So let's just do that. So there you have it. Our first NFL DFS first look lineup of the season, early August, a true first look. Lamar Jackson, Omarion Hampton, Ashton, Jeanty, Chris Olave, Wan'Dale Robinson, Zay Flowers, Harold Fannin Jr., Kenneth Gainwell, and the Panthers defense. If you made it to the end of the video, like always, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments your favorite NFL DFS week 1 play as of right now. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for coming along for the ride for another NFL DFS season. I can't wait. I will be back. Content schedule for the in-season content will be dropping soon, and we obviously will have you covered with another week 1 video by the time we get actually to week 1 after Labor Day. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.